Hello, welcome back. This is going to be a very different spring fragrances video because I'm currently on a trip with my family. We're driving our camper van around the north coast of Scotland. It's a 500-mile route and I thought I'd bring you along for the trip, and each place I visit I'm going to talk about a different fragrance, so you get to come on the trip and learn about my spring fragrance recommendations. So let's go. Got to say, this is one of our more interesting park-up locations on a remote harbour. Just a few fishing vessels around. Should be interesting. Pretty cool location though. All right, let's talk about spring fragrances. I know there will be comments on this video saying, why do we have to have a list of spring fragrances? There are no spring fragrances. There aren't fragrances that you only wear at spring. I'm pretty sure that brands, that companies do release fragrances that tie in with spring. There seems to be a lot of green fragrance releases that have come out in the last few weeks just in time for spring, which we associate with greenness, with new growth. You don't have to only wear these fragrances at spring. In fact, a lot of these fragrances are versatile enough to wear all year round, but some people do like to wear a fragrance that has notes, that has a smell that resonates with the freshness of spring. So if you're looking for a fragrance that not only works well for the springtime, but also works well and is versatile enough to wear all year round, then hopefully you'll find this list useful. So the first one is H24 Herb Vi from Hermes. Obviously we've had the H24 EDT and H24 EDP, which I don't have. I enjoy the EDT. And what you get with Herb Vi is that same fresh laundry type DNA, which is lovely. A very easy wear, casual fragrance. Throw in some cool, fresh herbs, a little bit of greenness, a nice little bit of pleasant greenish fruit in with that fresh laundry DNA, and it works really well. There seems to be something new in this one. We have a patented molecule called Fizz-Cool, and apparently this molecule, I couldn't tell you what it smells like on its own, but apparently when thrown into a fragrance formula it adds a lively freshness without it going minty. So we get fresh without mint, so you get this lively freshness, you get lively herbs, you get a little bit of fruit, a little bit of greenness, and that is Herb Vi. It's not a game-changing fragrance. I don't think it smells exactly like anything else, so it does have a little bit of uniqueness, but this fragrance to me is easy to wear, casual fragrance, bit of a nice dumb reach. If you don't already own the original, or if you're a massive fan of the original and you want to get this new one, then maybe you want to pick it up. I've recently got it. So far I've been enjoying wearing it, so I've got to recommend it as a spring fragrance. The next stop on our North Coast 500 route is the Walligo Steps, and the scenery here is dramatic. And that makes me want to talk about a very dramatic fragrance. It's called Altius from Parfums. So they had a version of this called Oud Altius. This is basically Oud Altius, but without the oud. So you're left with raspberry, warm spices, and obviously the rose. But what really gives Altius its firepower, and it is a very strong fragrance, is the leather, the incense, and the vanilla. This is a very strong statement-making fragrance. This is not just your easygoing, versatile green spring fragrance. I think it is appropriate for spring. But if you want to wear a fragrance that is going to get you noticed, a fragrance that is as dramatic as this scenery, then you want to give Altius a go. We made it to John O'Groats, pretty much as far as we can go in the United Kingdom, and it's pretty windy and bleak, so we'll make this a quick one. Next fragrance is Gucci Guilty Elixir. At this point, I'm going to have to switch to voiceover because, as you can hear, it was very windy out there at John O'Groats, and it only got windier and the sound worse. So, Gucci Guilty Elixir. Great for spring because white florals, orris and osmanthus take care of the springness, but throw in some vanilla and spices, and what you have is a very sexy, powdery scent that kind of pushes the boundaries for masculine perfumery, but skillfully gets away with it. It is great for spring, but I also love this in the summer, and it is easily versatile enough to wear all year round. It's a massive crowd-pleasing compliment getter. Think Reflection Man without the price tag. I'm on a stunning beach in Orkney. It's called Evie Sands. We're the only ones on here. It's quite a remote location, extremely stunning and breathtaking. Quite like the fragrance that I'm going to mention. It's called Golden Hour. It's from Alexander Perfumes. If you've not tried anything from this brand, then I urge you to at least get some samples because I've been very impressed with the quality and with the fragrances that are available. Golden Hour is a fragrance that maybe you don't want to wear in the spring daytime, but I think it would work really well in the spring evening because it's quite a thick, rich fragrance. You've got crisp green apple, bergamot and rose bringing the spring, but imagine that with the most rich, luxurious caramel drizzled all over the top of it. It takes it firmly into sensual evening wear territory. Very rich and full-bodied, fantastic performance. This one just lasts and lasts. Anyone around you is going to be lucky to smell this one on you, and you'll probably get lucky too. The next stop on the island of Orkney is the mysterious Ring of Brodgar, which is a mysterious Stonehenge, and I'm talking about next fragrance here because it also has a bit of a mysterious quality. It's green with cooling spices and mysterious incense. But what's really interesting about Narciso Rodriguez's Vetiver Musk is the note of red algae. It's a note I'm not familiar with, but apparently it provides a marine leathery note. I think this smells fantastic. I think it gives the fragrance lots of depth and a real robust quality. Very classy fragrance, very interesting. Great release from Narciso Rodriguez. Give Vetiver Musk a try. Continuing on the North Coast 500, we're at Melvick Beach and the waves are incredible here. The fragrance I'm going to talk to you about from this location is from a brand that I've recently discovered. I've made some videos about. They are a fantastic brand. They're called Adenture, and since I'm on an adventure, I thought it was fitting that I talked about this one. This is a fragrance called Kyoto. It's for people who aren't that into green fragrances for spring, although it is bright and uplifting enough for spring. It's got notes of plum, frankincense and warm spices, and you might think that that sounds like it's going to be a really heavy fragrance, but it's not. It's quite lively and bright. There's some creaminess to it as well, which only adds to the appeal. It's the sort of fragrance that people are going to notice because it smells a little bit different, but because it's so likable, it's probably going to pull in a few spring compliments. We've found this absolutely stunning beach. This is called Old Shoremore Beach, and it's looking even more stunning in this sunshine. The fragrance I'm going to mention next in the video is from Insider Parfums, and it's called Insidious. Some of you may know that this is essentially a clone of Aventus, but it's vintage Aventus. I think it's a 2014 batch. Some people complain that modern formulations of Aventus are weaker. That's why people tend to like these vintage versions, but they're hard to get hold of, and if you do get them, they're really expensive. Insidious just really nails the Aventus DNA, and I can absolutely vouch for the performance. I've worn this quite a few times myself. It performs really well. I remember smelling this in Milan recently on Mike from the Cologne podcast. He wore this on one of the days we were out there, and it was pumping off him all day, 8-10 hours, it didn't stop. Every time I was in his vicinity, anytime I was walking behind him, I was getting massive wafts of the beautiful vintage Aventus DNA. So I just think it's a great one for spring. It's a good one for any time of the year, but this spring I'm certainly going to be rocking Insidious from inside of Parfums. I found myself high up, deep in the mountains of the Scottish Highlands. I've been walking for days. I've run out of food and water. I need to call mountain rescue, to be honest. But before I do that, I've just got time to tell you about the next fragrance, which is Apple Musk from Niche for All. I've been a fan of Niche for All for a long time now. They offer very affordable fragrances at really high quality. Apple Musk is sparkling citruses and fruits with an emphasis on a crisp green apple. Think Creed's Aventus mixed with Roger Parfums Elixir with a little bit of green Irish tweed thrown in at £50 for 30ml or £85 for 100ml. It's much cheaper than any of those fragrances, but just as good. Right, where do I go? Join me as I go into the wild, and coincidentally the next fragrance I'm talking about is called Into the Wild. It's by Static Olfactive, and this is a very lush green fragrance, but it's lush forest green, very coniferous. Really reminds me of when I used to climb conifer trees as a kid. I used to have this big conifer tree, huge, in my front garden, and I'd climb all the way to the top, and when I'd done it, I had this sticky, piney tree sap smell all over my hands. I used to love that smell, and this fragrance really reminds me of that. So it whisks me back to my childhood. I have quite an emotional response to it because of that. It's a very creative but wearable fragrance. The note pyramid is very creative. It's not just top, middle and bottom. The top note is clean mountain air accord. The middle is dense forest accord. And the base is Sasquatch footprint. This really is a wild fragrance, but I love it. If you think you're into all that, you'll be into the wild. I'm just glad it doesn't have a Sasquatch poo accord, but my shoe does. Shit. I'm at the top of a mountain. The views are absolutely breathtaking, so I'm going to tell you about an equally as breathtaking fragrance. I'm a massive fan of Tom Ford's Ombre Leather. I think it's a masterpiece fragrance. It is a little more autumn appropriate. That's why in this video I'm going to mention and recommend Ombre Leather Parfum. It's a little brighter, it's a little greener. I think it's more refined and sophisticated than Ombre Leather. A little more grown up, a little more mature, but it's still an absolute masterpiece. But it still retains that Ombre Leather magic. I love that it perfectly blends badassery with classy. If all that sounds like a bit of you, I'd grab it. I'm going to grab these views. Wow. I'm ending this video on the shores of the famous Loch Ness. There may or may not be a monster in this lake, but it doesn't matter. We can enjoy the lake anyway, we can enjoy the mystery. You may or may not decide to wear fragrances just for the spring. It doesn't matter. You can enjoy them any time of the year. I think personally they will all be fantastic for the spring, but if you want to wear them in the winter or the summer or the autumn, they will work equally as well. I hope you enjoyed coming along on this Highland tour with me. I thought it'd be a different way to shoot a video and give you guys some visual variety. Thanks for joining me. If you liked it, you know what to do. Give it a like. If you want more videos like this where I can bring you out on our adventures, then hit subscribe. And if you do all that, I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye.